A child has been born for us. But there'll be no darkness for those who were in trouble. Earlier he did bring the lands of Zebulun and Naphtali into disrepute, but the time is coming when he'll make that whole area glorious, the road along the sea, the country past the Jordan, international Galilee. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. For those who lived in a land of deep shadows, light. Sunbursts of light. You repopulated the nation, you expanded its joy. Oh, they're so glad in your presence. Festival joy. The joy of a great celebration, sharing rich gifts and warm greetings. The abuse of oppressors and cruelty of tyrants, all their whips and clubs and curses, is gone, done away with, a deliverance as surprising and sudden as Gideon's old victory over Midian. The boots of all those invading troops, along with their shirts soaked with innocent blood, will be piled in a heap and burned, a fire that will burn for days. For a child has been born, for us. The gift of a son, for us. He'll take over the running of the world. His names will be, Amazing Counselor, Strong God, Eternal Father, Prince of Wholeness. His ruling authority will grow, and there'll be no limits to the wholeness he brings. He'll rule from the historic David throne over that promised kingdom. He'll put that kingdom on a firm footing and keep it going with fair dealing and right living, beginning now and lasting always. The zeal of God-of-the-Angel-Armies will do all this. God answered fire with fire. The Master sent a message against Jacob. It landed right on Israel's doorstep. All the people soon heard the message, Ephraim and the citizens of Samaria. But they were a proud and arrogant bunch. They dismissed the message, saying, "Things aren't that bad. We can handle anything that comes. If our buildings are knocked down, we'll rebuild them bigger and finer. If our forests are cut down, we'll replant them with finer trees." So God incited their adversaries against them, stirred up their enemies to attack, from the east, Arameans, from the west, Philistines. They made hash of Israel. But even after that, he was still angry, his fists still raised, ready to hit them again. But the people paid no mind to him who hit them, didn't seek God of the angel armies. So God hacked off Israel's head and tail, palm branch and reed, both on the same day. The big-headed elders were the head, the lying prophets were the tail. Those who were supposed to lead this people led them down blind alleys, and those who followed the leaders ended up lost and confused. That's why the Master lost interest in the young men, had no feeling for their orphans and widows. All of them were godless and evil, talking filth and folly. And even after that, he was still angry, his fists still raised, ready to hit them again. Their wicked lives raged like an out-of-control fire, the kind that burns everything in its path, trees and bushes, weeds and grasses, filling the skies with smoke. God of the angel armies answered fire with fire, set the whole country on fire, turned the people into consuming fires, consuming one another in their lusts, appetites insatiable, stuffing and gorging themselves left and right with people and things. But still they starved. Not even their children were safe from their greedy hunger. Manasseh ate Ephraim, and Ephraim Manasseh, and then the two ganged up against Judah. And after that, he was still angry, his fists still raised, ready to hit them again. You who legislate evil. Doom to you who legislate evil, who make laws that make victims, laws that make misery for the poor, that rob my destitute people of dignity, exploiting defenseless widows, taking advantage of homeless children. What will you have to say on Judgment Day, when doomsday arrives out of the blue? Who will you get to help you? What good will your money do you? A sorry sight you'll be then, huddled with the prisoners, or just some corpses stacked in the street. Even after all this, God is still angry, his fists still raised, ready to hit them again. Doom to Assyria. Doom to Assyria, weapon of my anger. My wrath is a club in his hands. I send him against a godless nation, against the people I'm angry with. I command him to strip them clean, rob them blind, and then push their faces in the mud and leave them. But Assyria has another agenda, he has something else in mind. He's out to destroy utterly, to stamp out as many nations as he can. Assyria says, aren't my commanders all kings? Can't they do whatever they like? Didn't I destroy Calno as well as Carchemish? Hamath as well as Arpad? Level Samaria as I did Damascus? I've eliminated kingdoms full of gods far more impressive than anything in Jerusalem and Samaria. So what's to keep me from destroying Jerusalem in the same way I destroyed Samaria and all her god idols? When the Master has finished dealing with Mount Zion and Jerusalem, he'll say, now it's Assyria's turn. I'll punish the bragging arrogance of the king of Assyria, his high and mighty posturing, the way he goes around saying, I've done all this by myself. I know more than anyone. I've wiped out the boundaries of whole countries. I've walked in and taken anything I wanted. I charged in like a bull and toppled their kings from their thrones. I reached out my hand and took all that they treasured as easily as a boy taking a bird's eggs from a nest. Like a farmer gathering eggs from the henhouse, I gathered the world in my basket, and no one so much as fluttered a wing or squawked or even chirped. Does an axe take over from the one who swings it? Does a saw act more important than the sawyer? As if a shovel did its shoveling by using a ditch digger. As if a hammer used the carpenter to pound nails. Therefore the Master, God of the angel armies, will send a debilitating disease on his robust Assyrian fighters. Under the canopy of God's bright glory a fierce fire will break out. Israel's light will burst into a conflagration. The holy will explode into a firestorm, and in one day burn to cinders every last Assyrian thorn bush. God will destroy the splendid trees and lush gardens. The Assyrian body and soul will waste away to nothing like a disease-ridden invalid. A child could count what's left of the trees on the fingers of his two hands. And on that day also, what's left of Israel, the straggling survivors of Jacob, will no longer be fascinated by abusive, battering Assyria. They'll lean on God, the Holy, yes, truly. The ragtag remnant, what's left of Jacob, will come back to the strong God. Your people Israel were once like the sand on the seashore, but only a scattered few will return. Destruction is ordered, brimming over with righteousness. For the Master, God of the angel armies, will finish here what he started all over the globe. Therefore the Master, God of the angel armies, says, my dear people who live in Zion, don't be terrorized by the Assyrians when they beat you with clubs and threaten you with rods like the Egyptians once did. In just a short time my anger against you will be spent and I'll turn my destroying anger on them. I, God of the angel armies, will go after them with a cat o' nine tails and finish them off decisively, as Gideon downed Midian at the rock Oreb, as Moses turned the tables on Egypt. On that day, Assyria will be pulled off your back, and the yoke of slavery lifted from your neck. Assyria is on the move, up from Rimmon, onto Aioth, through Migron, with a bivouac at Michmash. They've crossed the pass, set camp at Geba for the night. Ramah trembles with fright. Gibeah of Saul has run off. Cry for help, daughter of Galim. Listen to her, Lasha. Do something, Anathoth. Madmenah takes to the hills. The people of Gabim flee in panic. The enemy's soon at Nob, nearly there. Inside of the city he shakes his fist at the mount of dear daughter Zion, the hill of Jerusalem. But now watch this, the Master, God of the angel armies, swings his axe and lops the branches, chops down the giant trees, lays flat the towering forest on the march. His axe will make toothpicks of that forest, that Lebanon-like army reduced to kindling.